Agad namang umaksyon ang slaughterhouse para solusyonan ang problema sa kanilang wastewater. Nagbayad sila ng multa dahil sa kanilang violation na umabot ng mahigit 20,000 pesos. Pero hindi ito sapat dahil may mas malaki at mas maruming problema silang kailangang solusyonan.
Tapos kami makapagbayad, na-require talaga kami ni AMB na makapag-apply ng wastewater discharge permit. So, naging problema lang, sir, hindi kami makapag-apply kasi kumuha kami ng sample, pina-analyze namin sa Davao. Tapos yung resulta, bagsak talaga. Ginawa namin, naghanap kami ng mga technology na ma-address namin yung wastewater discharge.
With the help of the Department of Science and Technology or DOST, ang maruming problema ng Nabunturan Slaughterhouse unti-unti nagkaroon ng malinaw na solusyon.
Sir Philip, pwede niyo bang kwento sa amin kung paano kayo nagkaroon ng connection with Sir Sean?
Okay, so nag-start yun, sir, nung nag-benchmark kami sa isang munisipyo doon sa Davao del Norte. So we found out na project pala yun ng DOST. And so pagbalik naman dito, sumulat kami sa DOST through the provincial office.
Yes, sir.
Then sila na yung nag-forward doon sa region. Tsaka yun na, nagkaroon na ng coordination.
So, Sir Sean, can you tell us something about the first time that you went here and saw the situation?
That place looks very different from how it looks now. However, they already had a significant amount of pre-treatment, primary treatment for the wastewater in place. However, it was still lacking some compartments, and then we advised them to revise their design and to add a constructed wetland to their design to comply with the DNR EMB effluent standards.
What was your first assessment or what was your first impression of
Yeah.
their situation?
What we do is we see for the primary treatment what is working, what is not working, how can we enhance the design. And then we will measure the area if it has enough space for the constructed wetland, because it's a very low-cost treatment system. However, it requires land space. So, fortunately, in this particular facility, there was enough space, and the primary treatment was already in a good shape, good enough for us to work with.
So, Sir Philip, ano naman pong reaction nyo or dun sa naging assessment ni na Sir Sean dun sa inyong issue dito sa water, na water waste?
Actually, sir, naging open naman talaga kami. So, whatever recommendations ng DOST, so we are talaga committed to implement. So, dun sa naging medyo lang, yung hindi naman problema, pero parang challenging lang is yung budgetary requirements.
Yes, sir. Oo.
Yung tinanong namin sila, so ilan ba yung more or less yung expenses ng pag-establish. So, sabi nila nasa mga 1.5 million.
Million?
Yes,
Okay,
1.5
okay, sir.
million. But yung 1.5 million na yan, parang talaga, way below compared to other treatment
yes, sir.
facility. Aside from that, this is environmental friendly. So, nung nalaman namin na ganun, so talagang pinupush namin kay Mayor. Yun si Mayor Maymay Clarin Balili, naging open naman talaga din siya doon sa suggestion, saka committed na talagang hindi na kami ma-penalize.
Yes, sir. Oo.
So, yun nga, nagpasa kami ng supplemental budget, kasali na yung 1.5 million
Doon, sir.
sa supplemental budget.
Basta approved naman,
Yes,
sir.
na-approve naman, tsaka yun na, nag-start na yung process na.
Therefore, sir, nandun na siya. Okay.
Dito na siya ngayon.
It's time to say goodbye muna kay Sir Philip dahil sasamahan tayo ni Sir Sean para makita up close and personal ang Vertical Helophyte Filter Systems o VHFS na itinayo ng DOST sa Nabunturan Slaughterhouse. Ang VHFS ang water filtering system na binuo ng DOST na tumutulong para malinis ang wastewater o duming nagmumula sa slaughterhouse. Finally, mawi-witness na natin ang VHFS in action.
So, Sir Sean, can you please explain to us the whole process of how the water is being filtered?
Okay, so first of all, the water comes from the slaughterhouse through this canal here, and this will enter the first settling chamber.
Which is this one?
This is the first settling chamber. So this is actually to capture the initial sludge and the scum from the water. So then it will transport through an underflow to a second lagoon. There's a pipe below and a T-section, so the water has to go out that
To
well.
the second vac.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
alright,
exactly.
okay.
So all the fats, oil, fats, and greases will stay behind here, and most of the settle, the particles that can settle, that already settled. But to make sure that before it goes to the last chambers, everything else is settled, there's a second lagoon. Then we have a very small compartment at the back, and 2 more. So there's actually 3 basins in which the last 2 are covered to make sure there's no branches going inside, no frogs.
Okay.
Because there's 2 1 horsepower submersible sewage pumps installed in the last basin, which actually pump the water over this 300 square meter vertical flow constructed wetland. Primary treatment, about 10 days,
10
that the
days.
water will stay there to properly settle. And this filter system, it will take only 2.5 days. So this is, we call it a vertical halophyte filter system, but it's actually an enhanced version of the vertical flow constructed wetland. The water is irrigated through an irrigation pipes upon this filter system. So every square meter has an irrigation point. Then the water flows to different layers of filter substrates. Then you ask why the plants?
Yeah.
Well, the plants, they're actually the most important part because they transport massive amounts of oxygen to the water that is captured inside of this basin.
Okay.
They also absorb a lot of the nutrients. So maybe it becomes technical, but you have phosphate, nitrate, ammonium nitrogen.
Like electrolytes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, these nutrients, they are actually needed to for the plant's growth, but it is something that the DNR doesn't want to see in the water
Yeah,
into
yeah.
high levels. So these plants they
Solves
kill
that problem.
Solves that
Wow,
problem.
wow, okay.
The sand itself, it's a physical filtration, so your water will look clear when it comes out. You can use a very large variety of plants, but it's halophytes.
That's
Halophytes
like
are swamp
very
plants.
specific.
Ang VHFS hindi lang para sa mga slaughterhouse. Kahit anong industry daw pwedeng magkaroon ng kanilang sariling VHFS.
The government actually works on creating cleaner environment for the Philippines, and there is this. We have this law, the Clear Water Act, that is intended for the private industries, but also for the government facilities to comply with the national effluent standards. And the government, they would be the first to say, okay, we need to do this first to show everybody else, okay, we can do
The
it.
private sector.
So now
yeah,
it's
so that they
your
can follow.
turn. Yeah, exactly.
So with all of these specifications, all of the processes, can we see now the end process or the end quality of the water
Sure, let's go.
of this filtration system?
Yeah.
Alright, let's go. Tara. Okay guys, ngayon nandito na yung portion ng filtration system kung saan lumalabas yung tubig na malinis. So tingnan natin kung gaano nga ba siya kalinis. Sir Sean, can I do the honors?
Yeah, sure, go
Okay.
ahead.
So, yung tubig, Sir Sean, is there a possibility in the future that this water can be drank?
Yeah, sure. With minimal interventions, you can actually drink this water. So even the local water supplier, they add chlorine in it. So if you would disinfect it with chlorine or pass it to an activated carbon filter, this can definitely be drinkable.
Wow!
Pero hindi lang ang Nabunturan Slaughterhouse ang natulungan ng DOST. Pati na rin ang Barangay Sasa at mga residente nito na umaasa sa malinis na tubig mula sa creek kung saan napupunta ang filtered wastewater ng Catayan.